up, folks? Y'all let me know if we're 5x5, please.
These are words to work by. Supplies, solutions, support.
Hopefully we are. I don't know. It's anybody's guess these days. Let me turn chat here off. There we go. Woo. Slow chat. Yeah, I'm working on it. Sorry, guys. Brand new presentation this morning. Yep, 60 seconds. All right, we getting there, son. All right, 5x5. Thank y'all very much. So, let me refresh this. Basically, what is going on is I'm using my phone to stream, and then I have the laptop here watching the chat. It's the only way I can make it work without all of the glitches and the tech hiccups and stuff like this. I know it's a very basic approach, guys, but if this works, guys and gals, if this works, you know, this is an Amazon special. It's the only thing I could get here in time. I'll get a better lavalier mic or whatever needs to happen. But if this works, we're going to roll with this. Audio lag. Well, let's try it this way. With no lavalier mic, just the phone. How about that? I know I got full bars on the phone. Looking sharp. I appreciate that, Paradise Acres. Thank you. So I started to get discouraged over, for those that haven't heard, we've been hit 4 times in the past 4 days because we got hit Saturday night. Smacked on the hand once again. 2 of them I was able to overturn through appeals. 2 of them, they just said, you're out of luck, son. So it was a little discouraging at first, and I was thinking about, you know, how can I switch things up over here? And I started to realize, not to get off on too much of a rant, I promise we'll get into the prepping stuff, but I started to realize, man, what am I doing over here? Trying to keep up with all these bigger channels, keeping up with the Joneses and stuff. I freaking hate technology. No offense, I love y'all, but I hate technology. Like, what am I sitting here doing right now? Why am I trying to put all the fancy stuff in videos? That's just not me. You know, I'm a very basic individual. So that's what I'm going to be shooting for, you know, from here on out. And hopefully it doesn't affect the channel growing or whatever. But if it does, it does. I'm going to stay true to who we are over here at Prepper Nation. And I appreciate everybody being here this morning. I'll get a better, I think it's called a lavalier mic. I don't know. I'll invest in an expensive one that goes directly into the iPhone. Nostra D, first in the house this morning. And again, I appreciate it. People were asking about Bama Jen. She let me know yesterday she has an appointment she has to be at probably today and tomorrow. She may not be here. So without further ado, who is in the house? Simply Tony. I hate it too, son. There you go. I can't stand it. I cannot stand it. When everything is working, humming right along, it's great. John Cambron, good morning. But it normally doesn't for me. You know, it's probably 90% user error. I'll admit it. But make me famous, Misty says. Well, I can't do that. But good morning. Dome Seeker, good morning. Matt Outdoorsman, Randy, good morning. Papa's Farm. Old Town Homestead, good morning. And I'll probably be shady. What's going on? I'll probably be filming even the pre-recorded stuff on my phone. I can put that. I've got the option for whatever, 4K or whatever it's called. I can do that. What's going on, Backwoods? Rebecca, ma'am, how are you? And again, the moderators, thank you. They have been trying to unflag people's comments this morning. I'm telling you, YouTube does not want this community to exist. And they're looking for any reason they can to shut this thing down. But they have not been able to find a good enough reason to do it. I'm going to be dancing. I hate to do it, but I'm going to have to do it. I'm going to have to dance around certain things on this platform. It is what it is. We ain't going nowhere, son. Y'all might as well get used to it over in Silicon Valley because that's how we roll over here. You shut it down, I open another. Shut it down, I open another. I ain't got nothing else to do, man. So who's ready to go to war this morning? We don't have much time. Robin, good morning. I don't think we have much time until we hit war. Well, I can bring Pac-Man back, Teresa. I can do it. I'll find a place for it. I got all kinds of Pac-Man stuff. So, for those that haven't heard the news, I woke up to this. I think it's called a Reaper drone. If I'm wrong on that, somebody please let me know. But it's an MQ-9, and I think that's called a Reaper drone. The United States had one taken down over the Black Sea. From the time I laid my head down till the time I got up this morning. And there's a conflicting story as to why. So this thing was in international waters, okay, but again, the Black Sea. So it's obvious why this thing was there. It was there for reconnaissance. Supposedly, the transponder was turned off. So the United States did not want anybody to know that it was there. And the United States is saying, and this is weird, they're saying that Russia actually took this thing down with fighter jets by running into it. But the weird part is, the only thing that was damaged on this thing is the propeller. Everything else was intact. So, you'd have to be a really good pilot to only hit the propeller on this thing, going at such a speed and all. But I digress. The point is, it went down. Russia actually says there was no direct contact. Russia's admitting, they saw something pop up. It did not have a transponder. They responded because it's awfully close to the war zone. Again, Black Sea, even though it's in international waters. So they said 2 aircraft, and once they realized this thing is a reconnaissance drone from the United States, they messed with it. They admit it. They said we flew in front of this thing for a while, jet wash and all this. They actually alluded to the fact that maybe they let a little fuel loose on this thing on purpose. They were trying to knock it out of the air without actually touching it. And they're saying there was no direct contact. The thing went down. Eventually, we messed with it enough. I think the truth is, either way, we shouldn't be flying over the Black Sea right now. International waters or not, we shouldn't do it. Because everybody with a peanut-sized brain or higher knows what we were doing over there. We were collecting reconnaissance to give to Ukraine, who happens to be at war with Russia. Russia practiced a lot of restraint here, in my opinion, because if I'm Putin, I'm knocking the thing out of the sky, international waters or not. This is leading to casualties on the battlefield. That reconnaissance gets fed to my enemy, if I'm Putin, gets fed to the enemy, and I lose soldiers or I lose armor. No, I'm knocking it out of the sky, and I'm not even going to apologize for it. The United States knows what they're doing. It's kind of like, not to sound redneckish or crude, but it's kind of like, if you continue to put your hands in a car door, when somebody finally slams the door on your fingers, you really don't have the right to complain, because it's also your fault. How do you stop your fingers from getting slammed in a car door? You don't put them there, son. It's pretty simple. But I digress. So that's an ongoing thing. The ambassador for Russia was called. Joe Biden was briefed. I mean, this whole thing almost escalated to full-blown war over a drone that's collecting information for a proxy war that we shouldn't even be a part of, if I'm being blunt. But it is what it is. I mean, we'll see where that goes. I'm also watching the banking situation, because the truth is, even if you are ready to go for war, you probably can't afford it. I mean, if your money's still in the banks by now, hey, I don't know what to tell you. Car doors are painful. West Texas, I've had that happen, actually, as a kid. So banks continue to fall. There have been 3 reported so far. 4th is in serious trouble. Now I woke up to news of European banks. They're saying that it's the worst since 2008. And it is probably going to be historic by the time this thing is said and done. It's so bad in Europe, with the banking systems that the stock market here is shaky because of it. So 2008 was bad. I remember 2008, I didn't have a ton of money in the bank. I'll level with y'all. I didn't have a ton of money in the bank. I was working for Dish Network, for God's sake. And then I wasn't playing the stock market. I don't do the stock market. But I can remember people losing everything over 2008. And not only are we trending toward 2008, but as I was saying the other day, we're coming off the back end of a pandemic. Sorry, COVIDians, it's over. We're on the back end of a pandemic. It is officially over. And we have that going on. And again, the conflict in Ukraine, it's just one big mess. So it's going to be worse than 2008. There's no avoiding it. Philly Flash, welcome to the coffee club. Not a good year, somebody says. And quite frankly, we're in for several years of pain, I think. But here's the thing. Even if you somehow are able to save your money, to recoup your money, and we go to war, you're not going to be able to buy a weapon of peace, as I have to call it here on YouTube now, a weapon of peace. Believe that. Because Joe Biden just issued an executive order, and he's coming after those weapons of peace. He doesn't want those things hanging around, son. He's, of course, this ain't the first time, folks. This ain't the first time. It ain't going to be the last time, but this is something that Congress should be involved in. All right? So I don't think that you get rid of the right to bear arms, period. I think it's non-negotiable. But if you're going to come after the Second Amendments can change back and forth. The Constitution it's a living document. It is going to change back and forth. It's different than the Bill of Rights, okay? But Joe Biden is circumventing all of it. Good morning, Amelia. All of it. He's circumventing everything. He's like, you know what? We're not even going to involve Congress at this point. I'm just going to sign a piece of paper, put my scribble at the bottom, and now it's going to be illegal. This is how Joe Biden rolls. Tie time, thank y'all. This one comes with a card. It's brand new. I got to show you. It's got a squirrel on it, okay? But this one comes from Deb, Beavering Deb. She sent this over. I got it the other day, and she was quick to put, this is the only kind of squirrel that we eat. Do you hear that, Dynamite? The only kind. So there you go. Little lime green for you. So they're going to keep whack-a-moling at the Second Amendment, whack-a-moling at the ability to defend yourself. This isn't going to, we know, this is not going to get rid of the bad guys. This is not going to get rid of the bad weapons of peace that are already out there. This is meant to harass legal ownership and people that want to do things the right way. This is meant to harass and price people out of it. There's so many nonsensical taxes that have been added to this process now, and fees and all this other stuff that I would argue is unconstitutional. There's no mention of any of this stuff. All these taxes and fees and, hey, if you want to run a check, that's your business. Why am I having to pay for it? Why does it fall into my lap? This sort of thing. So they're going to keep whack-a-moling on this thing until they finally get what they want. I mean, it is what it is. People, backwoods can tell you, there ain't enough people that's willing to stand up to this kind of stuff. People are too passive. They're not aggressive enough, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, even if we go to war, behind every blade of grass, right, you better hang on to it. Because there's not going to be too many new people collecting these things as war takes off. And then I want to mention this. I'll link this down below. All right, if you want to go straight to the article. But even if we go to war, we're going to lose. And this is according to our own government, our own military leadership. The Center for Strategic and International Studies. All right. These are the smartest war gamers that we have. So Wargaming is you sit down, you run through a scenario. How would this scenario play out? How does it work to our advantage, disadvantage, whatever? So they recently wargamed, and again, I linked to this for anybody that's interested. They wargamed Taiwan. If there's an invasion of Taiwan and the U.S. has to get involved, which they've said they're going to, how would this play out? And they determined that within 2 years, the United States loses. 2 years, 24 months. They said the U.S. industrial base is not prepared for war. And they're basing this off of the numbers, and they're basing this off of what they're seeing right now in Ukraine. So you take a look at Ukraine, for example. They're firing off artillery, even older stuff, and we cannot produce it fast enough to keep fighting conventional war. We can't keep caught up. We're trying to convince Zelensky, hey, tactically withdraw here, come up with a different plan, give us time to replenish what you have. And they're saying against China, we would be toast within 2 years. We cannot keep up. We have a lot of advanced stuff compared to China, but they're saying that China would fight a very conventional war and that we cannot keep up, industrially speaking, that we would run out of munitions across the board, but especially the advanced munitions, the stuff that we need to take missiles down, the stuff that we need to, arm drones with and things. We can't keep up. We can't make this stuff fast enough because we import too much stuff. It's not being made at home, and they're saying we're not prepared for war. They said that going to war with China or anyone else at this point in the game for the United States only leads to mass casualties here in the United States and a loss. And again, you can argue with these people, but it's hard to do that because they have the highest education in wargaming that there is, and I think that they're correct. They're saying this would also cause a massive economic disruption here in the United States. So everybody, drafted or not, would be heavily affected by any type of war. Now, again, they're talking about a war in Taiwan, but this could also be us getting involved in Ukraine, because the moment we get physically involved in Ukraine, China's coming to Russia's aid. They've said as much. All right, this is probably the only reason we haven't jumped in at this point. And they're saying that there would be a possible escalation all the way up to nukes if we get entangled with China. So I don't like it. I think that report is very accurate, but again, I don't like it. The United States is just not in a position to fight a long-term war. We're not. We're losing a proxy war in Ukraine. Long drawn-out wars are not something the United States historically is good at, and we seem to not figure this out. If we're able to go in, we're able to shock and awe, we're able to go in like, Desert Storm, that's one thing. Take control as soon as possible. But when you get tied up into, let's say, a 20-year war in Afghanistan, we lose those. When you get tied up into conflicts and wars like Vietnam, we tend to lose those. And we're in danger of doing that in Ukraine or Taiwan. Take your pick. We're not going to win a long drawn-out war with either opponent. So anyway, that's what I have. Let's jump in the chat. Let me know what y'all think. German Ninja's not getting drafted, apparently. Let's see. China does not have the ability to wage war. I don't know. I don't know if I would say that, because they don't have the battleships that we have. They don't have the fighting aircraft that we have. Our economies are tied together. I don't know that either one of us have the ability to fight long term, but I think that they're in better shape than we are in terms of being able to fight a long drawn out war. They have more bodies to throw at it, for example. The cost effectiveness of the way they fight. It costs us a lot more to fight the way that we want to fight. as opposed to the way China does things. Um, Amelia, how dare you? I always take the dust jackets off. I'm I'm one of those people. I get it. I take the dust jacket off. Forget that. It's like my books are in a nudist camp around here. um, China doesn't have the energy production to be in a full war. No, Mike, they don't. But Russia does. And Russia is their key ally. China's not stupid. They understand, hey, Russia has all of this food, Russia has all of this fuel that we need. Those two economies together, it's very dangerous. And I mean, look at us. Take a look inward to the United States for a second. Where does most of our stuff come from? How long would it take for us to, if we cut China completely off, how long is it going to take for us to start making everything at home? It's going to take a long time. Sounds like a plan. Welcome to the coffee club. Um, Again, Art and Annie making an excellent point. They don't have to leave home with a gazillion hypers. And China and Taiwan. I mean, that's basically a home game for China. If we get tangled up there, our supply line is in shambles. We're the ones responsible for supplying a war halfway around the world. China, they just have to go across the Taiwan Strait. I mean, it's much more manageable by the Chinese. Now, I do think that Taiwan will hold up a lot better and a lot longer than people give them credit for. They're a decent fighting force, but they would be overwhelmed at some point. I'm ready to get this thing going, Backwoods says. I mean, if it's going to happen, let's get it. I know. That's what I'm saying. The slow boil is the thing that burns me out. The sitting around and waiting and the quarter of a temperature every day. You know, if we're going to get to it, let's get to it. What's going on, Warlord? Sergeant Mike says all they have to do is cut off our medications. That's it. You want to cause chaos here, you cut off the medications. Instant chaos in the United States. You would have so many problems here in the United States with no medications that you would not be able to fight a war elsewhere. You would have to commit to your own country and trying to fix the fires that were here. McBean, I'm sorry to hear that. And I'm sorry to hear that's the second time it's happened. They're sleazy. I don't know what else to tell you, man. They're sleazy. People were asking yesterday, you know, is there a video coming? Why is there no video? And I'd post it in the community section, but a lot of people had been unsubscribed, so they never got the notification for that post or anything. It's crazy. You know, they're much bigger channels here on YouTube. That's what I don't understand. I don't understand why they pick on us. You know, and we're certainly not the only channel they do it to, but I don't understand why the focus is over here. You know, all we're trying to do is chat back and forth. Somewhere in West Texas, wow, thank you. Gifted 10 Prepper Nation memberships. I'm over here streaming through a phone because I can't figure the tech stuff out. She's like, watch this. Good morning. That may be, Rebecca. Grassroots anything scares them to death. Maybe. You know, maybe they're afraid of the grassroots stuff. I don't know. I mean, I've thought about not selling stuff on the channel, but I've thought about claiming that I'm doing it just so they put the little placard up in the corner so maybe YouTube will leave me alone. You know, includes a paid endorsement and that does not include one. Prepper trucking, that's my question. Because what happens when it starts and 75% of the men here in the United States refuse to fight? It's not going to be a choice. You know, they're not going to institute a draft and then let 75% of the people say no. They're going to force people to fight. I mean, they really, what choice does the United States have? You know? And it's self-inflicted. We've done this to ourselves for the last 20 plus years. Let's get away from the idea of patriotism. let's blur the lines on what a American red-blooded male should be. And now all of a sudden, guess what? You need patriots. You need that stereotypical male with all that, what's it called? Machismo, son. And now there's not enough of it to go around. What do? Well, it's self-inflicted. You did it to yourself. Pilgrim, thank you for bringing that up. Pilgrim says there will never be boots on the ground here. Drones are cheaper. So thank you for bringing this up, because this is one mistake the United States has made. I go back to President Obama. Oh God, what a gem that man was. What a beacon of hope for this nation. I'm being sarcastic. Please don't hit the down thumbs on that. He was debating, I don't even remember who he was debating. Whoever he ran against the second time. It's been so long. But Obama's got me shook now. But he was doing a debate. I want to say Romney maybe, but I could be wrong. Anyway, he was saying it's no longer a matter of how many battleships you have. And, you know, what the United States did is they took all of their eggs out of conventional warfare and they put it in the advanced warfare basket. Okay, we don't need that many soldiers anymore. We don't need many battleships. We don't need this. We need drones. We need cameras. We need the ability to hit from afar and stuff like this, which on paper seems to make sense. It seems like old Obama was a genius back in the day. But the issue is, now that we're in Ukraine and we're being hit with conventional warfare, again, we can't keep up. We can't keep up with conventional warfare. They continue to throw bodies at Ukraine. We can't keep Ukrainians fed fast enough. We can't rearm them fast enough. We can't maneuver them fast enough. We're losing to conventional warfare. And the icing on the cake for Russia is they have the threat of hypersonics. Now, they don't have many hypersonics. I would guesstimate, you know, probably less than 100 of those jokers right now. But you can bank on the fact that they're producing more. We can't stop them. They can hit us. All of our advanced stuff cannot touch a hypersonic missile. You know, we've tried the technology. For us, it's just not there yet. So we are losing a conventional war and using the stuff that we place our eggs into that basket. And we just can't rearm fast enough the way we want to fight. Our advanced, you know, idea of advanced warfare is just completely overwhelming somebody, taking them out fast, and then just imposing will on them. And this will work, I think, with certain very small countries, but when you get into your heavy hitters, it's not going to work. They got too much hardware. You know what I'm saying? And another thing with Russia, I mean, they've had war after war after war. A lot of their folks are trained. A lot of their folks have seen war prior. This is not, you know, and I mean this in the best way possible. This is not your typical rainbow hair from Starbucks going in and going through boot camp. You know what I mean? A lot of these folks are war tested, and this is an issue that we're going to run into, I think. Well, we might, Doug. We might. Don't be fooled. We have hypersonic weapons. We may, but we're not going to know for sure unless Zelensky begs us out of them. Because, again, we're fighting a proxy war right now, and whatever we're giving Zelensky, he's going to use. So until they show up over there, it doesn't matter if we have them or not. We're not using them. Probably, Miss C, probably. Now, they aren't soft. That's correct, Dirt Tracks. So, their reservists, on the other hand, okay, they haven't seen a lot of war. They're using a lot of conscripts. I mean, I'm being as objective as possible here. Russia's using conscripts mostly, all right? But they're not using their main force. For the most part, they have not used their main force. We were told, hey, you know, 6 months into the war, right? We were told Russia's running out of jets. They have no jets. You know, they're relegated down to using jets from the 1970s. We've wiped them out, son. And then just last night, to advanced jets took down a drone. Just messing with it. You know, they have advanced stuff. They have advanced tanks that they have not deployed. The strength of the numbers are all over the place, but let me explain this to you. Conscripts or not, Ukraine has not wiped out hundreds of thousands of Russians. Tens of thousands probably, not hundreds of thousands. All right? And understand that prior to this war, Ukraine had a lot of soldiers that were regular army. All right? They have it lying in wait. They have not used it. The bigger conflict is coming. All right? I heard China was running out of rice, Robert says. Well, again, I don't know. But again, Russia has tons. Russia knew what they were doing when they were, while we were worried about going green and having a diverse military and all that, Russia was worried about get the grain, secure the grain, get the energy, secure the energy. And that's exactly what they've done. They were securing stuff for a long-term war because they know the United States is not prepared for that. They knew. They know the United States is not prepared for that. And our mainstream media is trying to shame Russia into either backing out of the war or they're trying to provoke them, I think, into deploying their actual force into the war. And again, Putin has, believe it or not, he's practiced a lot of restraint because I probably would have deployed it at this point already, but he hasn't. It's just sitting back. He's using mercenaries, he's using conscripts, he's using Cold War era stuff and making what gains he can make. Big German, yeah, absolutely. The grain is for their military, not the people, right? They're securing this stuff to fight a war effort, absolutely. It's not like they're enriching the Russian citizens with this stuff, but they're doing things in a long-term way. So Iran is resupplying them with your basic level drones and things. All right. It's not that Iran has advanced level drones, but it's that they have so many, and they're sending them to Russia. And what are they getting in return? So in return, when Russia gets a hold of something, you know, maybe that the British have given Zelensky or the United States, maybe they've given it to Zelensky, something more advanced that Iran doesn't have, they are shipping this stuff back to Iran. And Iran is reverse engineering this stuff. So as the war escalates, we're going to be fighting knockoff versions of the stuff that we have sent Zelensky. And this is why it's really, really stupid to send the Abrams to them, in my opinion. Because, you know, it'll take a while to reverse engineer the stuff that's in the Abrams. It's not going to take them long. Russia can't stop now. They really can't, backwoods. Not unless they make substantial gains and then Putin's able to back away and say, this is what we were trying to accomplish. But Zelensky's not going to let them make significant gains. Zelensky, I think, is afraid. Like, if they take Bakhmut, the steamroller is going to continue to come through Ukraine. And I think he would rather throw his army and his bodies at Bakhmut, which is already ruined, than he would let him advance. Quest Conquest. We're wasting our American stockpile on old Soviet technology. Yes, and we're pulling it from other regions of the world. So we're not just sending them what we have sitting around here, but like Israel, for example. People don't know we've pulled a ton of our surplus that was over in Israel, and we've relocated it over to Ukraine. So what does this do? This makes Israel vulnerable. You know, if we have to fight a war effort there in the Middle East, now we don't have so much stuff sitting around waiting for us, you know? Their plan is to depopulate us. You know, the long-term plan, absolutely, and war is going to accomplish a lot of that. You know, if you get into a global war, and I think we are, but this stuff takes time, guys. And I know y'all know this, but get on the banks for a second. And what Backwoods was saying, let's hurry up and get it over with. And I'm with you on that, brother. there are creators now that are out there saying, I don't want to hear anything else about the banks. Stop talking about the crash of the banks. They're like, a la la la, they don't want to hear it. And I'm like, why? It's SHTF. You should be talking about this. This is important to people. And I'm sorry, but this kind of stuff it doesn't happen overnight. This is not going to be the stock market crash back before the Great Depression. We're a much bigger economy, a much bigger country. This kind of stuff takes time. And it's the same with World War III. It's not going to happen overnight. You know, there are going to be a bunch of people denying the fact that we're in World War III up until the point where it's said on TV. We're in World War III. And at that point, it's official. Dynamite, if you believe the Bible, Israel is God's chosen people, they will prevail in the end. I think so, but there's going to be a lot of loss. And that's in the end. You know, we don't know if we're in the end yet or not. At least I don't. But Israel, formidable fighting force. You know, and of course, biblical as well, but just in terms of military strength, we were talking about Russians being hardened and from war. Israel is probably one of the best fighting forces in the world because they've had to be. And I mean, they're just a knockout force. We could learn from them at this point. Randy, how dare you? What happened? I was cooking breakfast. Y'all get breakfast at your house? I'm still on the coffee as my breakfast kick. Israel has nukes. Israel's been fighting for 3,500 years, and Israel has mastered, that's a good point, Yankee Watchdog, and they've mastered, it's called timing and space. They know exactly when to hit. They've mastered high ground. They know fighting tactics 101 on a level that, yeah, they teach boys to be men. Yeah, Dynamite. They know tactics on a level that, honestly, our generals could go and learn from them. And that's not to slight all of our military generals. Y'all know how I feel about Milli Vanilli. I think he's a traitor. But we have good generals too, but they could learn from Israel. Israel don't play around. Robin Stewart, thank you very much for that super chat. Well, I don't know, Maria. And breakfast is the most important meal. I've always heard that. But I wake up, I got to have my coffee. And then I'm trying to, for a while now, I've been trying to cut down to 2 meals a day from a prepping standpoint, and I've just gotten used to it. Florida man, hit that thumbs up or keep cuddling with Kamala. If anybody's cuddling with Kamala, you're a sick individual. I'll go ahead and tell you. Sicko. Elaine says, I eat one rounded meal a day mostly, as long as you're getting the calories. Man, somebody made a comment. We were talking about this a couple of weeks ago, and I can't remember if it's Prepping Outside the Box or Mad Outdoorsman. One of those two made the comment that calories is what's really important. You can get away with one meal a day as long as you're keying in on the right amount of calories, the right kind and stuff. So if you're smart with that sort of thing, you can get away with one meal a day, eating it at a certain time and all that. I know, Jim Shady, I'm hungry too now. But you know what I'm saying? Like you can eat 3 balanced meals a day, but you can eat also one and instead of eating fast food 3 times a day, it's better to have one balanced meal where you're getting the stuff you actually need. Heart and Annie. JRC Homestead says, I've started eating only between 11 and 8. Drink hot tea between times. Tea is probably something that I need to drink more of, the hot tea. I can get into it occasionally. It's probably better for me than coffee, to be quite frank. But Warlord TV, I'll eat anything I kill. He hits something out on the road, possum or something. He's out there. He's grilling it on the side of the road, like a caveman. People driving by. What's that guy doing? Um, Frank Short. John, do you think Biden and the Democrats will declare a national emergency to stop the elections? Anything is possible. I would think. Now, that's a great question because there's the sane world, and then there's the world that most people seem to live in 2023. In a sane world, just strictly based on his age, I would hope and pray that Joe Biden does not run for office again for re-election. You know, there comes a point in time, and I'm sorry, but Trump is getting up there in age too, guys. There comes a point in time when you reach a certain age and you're like, is this candidate going to be effective? No matter where you fall politically, are they going to be effective for 4 more years? And I think Joe should not have run this past time because of his age. He's not effective. But that's in the sane world. In the insane world that we live in, they will probably try to delay, they will probably try to do anything. Um, you were talking about a national emergency. A world war would give you that. You know, world war would give you that type of national emergency where you could come on TV and say, look, or however Joe would say it, come on, man. Come on, man, look. I have to remain president because I don't want to disrupt the country by relieving myself of command. Not relieving himself in his britches. He does that all the time, son. But he can say it would be dangerous for the country if I were to step down right now, or if we had elections right now, that could be a danger to democracy. And in the insane world, now again, getting back to the sane world, people should be revolting at that point. But in the insane world of 2023, where we live, believe it or not, probably 2/3 of the country would be okay with that statement because they would have their eyes on the war. Oh my God, the war. How did we get into World War III? You know, or how did we, a banking crisis? What are you talking about? Where'd this come from? This sort of thing. They're looking at the shiny crisis that's happening and they're eating up what Joe Biden and his spokeswoman are saying. So, yeah, it's very possible. I would hope not. I would hope people would not fall for that crap. But, hey, it's 2023. They've fallen for all kinds of stuff. Prophecy. I've been learning prison food recipes because that's probably going to be fine dining when it hits the fan. And plus, man, if you, not to get too sidetracked, but if you pull up there are a lot of bodybuilders in prison, believe it or not, that have YouTube channels that ain't getting flagged by YouTube. Let me just throw that in there. But yeah, man, they'll show you exactly what their exercise and their food diet looks like. It's probably not the best for you. Probably tons of sodium and stuff like this, but they're in great shape. So it is. Yeah, stock market crash. No surprise, Elaine says. You'd be surprised. How many people will sit around with drool coming out of their mouth? How did this happen? What do you mean stock market crash? Joe came on TV for 6 minutes and told us it was going to be okay. What happened? There are people out there that stupid that they really believe this. He comes on TV, gives his little 5 or 6 minute speech, tells everybody, don't worry, your money is safe. Because that's what you want to hear when you can't access it, that it's safe. You don't know where it's at. You don't know how to get your own hands on your own money. But don't worry, it's safe. Joe Biden says it's safe. And then people start asking, reporters say, how is it safe? How can people access their money? Joe Biden just turns around and walks out of the room. He don't even know. He's just trying to stop chaos in the streets. He's trying to stop a bank run, a major bank run in this country. Because if people are smart, they'd be getting their money out of the bank. But it's probably too late at this point. They're probably limiting you to I don't know this, but they're probably saying, you only have $200 now from a teller at the bank. Your money is safe and effective. Yeah, it's just in somebody else's pocket. The unknown comic. Somebody posted it, and it's accurate. They posted his, you know how the presidents have their official White House portraits and stuff, and his was having his back turned, walking out of the room. because he's done turned his back on everybody. Joe Biden. The dude, anytime I see the dude, I'm like, here we go. The Dow needs to be at 20K. It's one big bubble now. Big tech has no worth except the censorship. You're right. Facebook is laying off 10,000 people. I meant to mention that. Mentioned that on Patreon yesterday. And as I said over there, I hate the idea of anybody losing their jobs. 10,000 people, just because they're all at Facebook does not mean they all support Joe Biden. I'm sure there's some people that voted the other way. It's not a good look. When big tech and the banks that are tied to big tech are going under and mass layoffs, man, it is not a good look for the economy. Come on, man. It's backed by the full faith and credit of the U.S. government. Yeah, Warlord. That was posted on Patreon yesterday, or the day before, maybe. The Monopoly rule book. If anybody is familiar with the game of Monopoly, there's actually a rule for what to do when the bank runs out of money. You know, is the bank ever out of money? No. If the bank runs out of money, you start to get notebook paper like this right here. It actually says this in the rule book. And then you tear little pieces off, and then you draw the denomination on that, and you use that as money. And that's exactly what the Fed is doing right now. That's what banks are doing. You run out of money here. Here, son. You just print more. You just create more out of thin air because that'll work. I mean, it's just so silly. It's so silly. It's silly that people would still have their money in the bank. I'm sorry, but it is. I understand it's convenient. People say, you know, it's a lot less convenient to pay in cash. You know, how am I supposed to draw it out? You can get prepaid cards and pay your bills and stuff over the phone or on the computer. I get it, it's less convenient, but how convenient is it to beg for your own money and depend on the Fed and Biden and Janet Yellen and all these people to pull it together? Yeah, an IOU, Black Cat Whirligig. How inconvenient is an IOU? You know, if you're banking with Wells Fargo, I need to draw out $200. Well, I don't have your $200 today. But what I can do is I can draw the number 200 on here and give this to you. And you bring it back at another time and we'll hook you up. Well, why? Why do people still have their money in the banks? It's crazy. John, the Dow Jones is down 541 points. Of course it is, because, thank you, Captain Coral, because the European banks, they're seeing a run on the banks in Europe right now. Woke up to that this morning. And it's global economy. Everything's attached at the hip. So when it starts to fall one, it all falls. You know, you're attached at the hip with a rope. Somebody falls off the cliff. Guess where everybody else is going? It's just a matter of time. Europe's feeling it now. It's coming up next here in the United States. DLD After Dark. So, a great question. Trying to figure out how to dance around this name here. So, Mr. Jones, who is in a war for info. Hopefully, y'all know who I'm talking about, right? AJ. He has ink scars, says, forget the WEF. He has an interesting theory, and I think there's probably a lot of merit to it, okay? He is saying that these banks are being crushed right now on purpose. So a big 5 or 6 banks, you know, like internationally, the top 5 or 6 can come in, absorb these banks. And I've already heard chatter of this. The Fed is saying, hey, the perfect solution would be if this bank goes out of business, it needs to be bought by a really big bank, you know, kind of to take care of it. And AJ is saying, Mr. Jones, that once all of the smaller regional banks are absorbed by the top 5 or 6, the top 5 or 6 are going to switch it all digital. And that's how they're going to implement this thing, you know, the reset. So there is, I think he's usually not wrong on this kind of stuff. I'll just say that. Reset incoming, simply Tony. He's saying this is being done on purpose. Um, just to get rid of the regional and the smaller banks and stuff, and kind of when you look at it, the same way that they are redistributing power, um, like with things like the EU, and now they're talking about the North American Union and stuff. Get rid of all the countries, turn them into 5 or 6 unions, and then control all of the unions. He's saying they're doing this with the banking system. Get rid of all the banks out here, the Walmart method, okay? So, excuse me, perfect analogy. The Walmart method. You can't be the only game in town as long as there are other stores around. So you have to come in, you have to crush the competition, you have to run them out of business until you're the only game in town. He's saying these banks, these smaller and the regional banks and stuff, maybe a top 20 bank, but it's not a top 5 or 6. They're being crashed on purpose. And once this happens and you're only left with your Walmarts and your Amazons, then they're going to absorb everything and they're going to be in control. And at that point, the banks are going to go all digital, if that makes sense. Monica, it may be too late. Monica says, I know I need to get mine out. It may be too late. It depends on where you're banking, to be honest with you. 3 have already been crushed. A 4th is dealing with trouble. And these are all top 20 banks, meaning they own other bank chains and things. Wells Fargo is seeing a lot of issues right now. They're the newest. Wells Fargo they're in trouble. Lord Eagle, what's going on? Well, think about it. Our grand folks always had tons of cash on hand at the house. They never went without. They paid what the price tag said, no interest payments on cash. We got fooled. Yep. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. We're a society of people that are living on credit, and that credit has finally caught up to us. Yeah. Not wrong at all. Credit has always, I guess, been a thing, but to your point, back in the day, people didn't play like that. If they couldn't afford it, they didn't buy it, or they saved up the money. PNC Bank is another one, yeah. Will these banks call credit debts? So nobody seems to know. Joe doesn't even seem to know, but he doesn't want you to worry about it. He's saying the FDIC, it's weird because the FDIC insures up to I think it's up to $250,000, but they have a very long time to pay this money back. People don't understand this. It's not like, hey, they don't have my money and you call and the FDIC is at your front door the next day. Oh no, it takes a while, son. And Cinderella X, welcome to the coffee club. So now Joe is saying, oh, the FDIC is going to insure all of it. Everybody that lost a dime, the FDIC is going to insure that. Well, that's not how it works, Joe. They're only supposed to insure up to $250,000. So if people had more, 99 years, thank you, Black Cat Whirligig, 99 years is what they have to pay back your money. That's such a hustle. So, reporters are saying, they're asking him, and he's just talking over them. He gives a statement and again walks out. They're trying to find out how is the FDIC going to pay all this money back. Billions were lost, Joe. How are they going to pay it back? And he doesn't want to admit that they're going to tear off pieces of paper and just write stuff on it and print on it and give it back to people. Maybe there's a better plan. Again, they have 99 years to figure it out. So, if you don't need your money for the next 99 years, leave it in the bank. Otherwise, you might strongly consider turning the news on, seeing all the bank chaos, hearing about it on social media, watching the Dow Jones today as Europe's banks are crashing and saying, hey, I might gas up the old Plymouth and drive into town and pull my money out. You might consider it. I don't know. The IOU again. Yeah, Black Cat. So it's like this right here. They're already giving you an IOU. All right, this is what you already had in the bank because the money's not really there. So now they're saying, look, you can't access your IOU anymore. The bank screwed up. They stole your money, son. But don't worry, the FDIC is going to swoop in and give you another IOU. Here's an IOU for the money that we never had in the first place. That's the banking system. And we have 99 years to do it. That's the banking system that we have in place. People will say it's capitalism. No, I don't think it's capitalism. I don't think capitalism is solely to blame. I think, to Lord Eagle's point earlier, a lot of it is people living beyond their means, living via debt, banks getting rich off of debt, banks, pun intended here, Amelia, banking on the fact that people are not going to come looking for their money. And now that people have started sniffing around for their life savings, banks are like, oh my God, what are we going to do? The hustle's up. Bank greed. There you go, Briar Patch. Anyway, folks, this John with Prepper Nation. Thank y'all for being here this morning. My daggone coffee's cold, though. It's a little chilly out here, to be honest with you. This is detached completely from the house, so it's a little colder out here. I'm going to go in and warm up and probably, I don't know, look for a little something to eat. But we should be live tomorrow. Patreon and Coffee Club, we're probably going to have our live stream. I know it's a couple of days late. We're probably going to have it tomorrow, but it may be tomorrow evening before I can get around to doing that, where we're going to review our movie of the week. All right. I appreciate everybody. God bless y'all for being here. Till tomorrow morning. Take care and God bless.